Hi guys, so today we are going to use a program to graph data for us. And this program is called Excel. And Excel is a very cool program that can just help organize data for lots of different reasons. And we have already talked about and looked at different types of graphs, and we've even made some by hand. But Excel is this really cool program and a tool that you can use to graph your data for you. Today I am actually going to be using Google Sheets. Google Sheets is very similar to Excel, but instead of being on your computer, you can access it through the internet. And it's through Google Suites, so you access it just the same as you would Google Classroom, Google Docs, Gmail, things like that. So the first step, I already did it, but you would go to New, and then click Google Sheets, and then a new tab will pop up right here, and it'll just be a blank sheet for you to fill in. So first thing you need to do is you need to put in the data that you want to be graphed. So the example that I'm going to be using today is pretty simple. And it's going to be an example that's looking at how the amount of water used affects the plant's growth. So first I want to put in my independent variable. And if you guys remember, our independent variable is the variable that you change or have control over. So in this case, it would be the amount of water. So, first, blank cell, I will put amount of water. Then after that, I'm going to be putting the different conditions that the independent variable has. So I'm going to have 4 conditions. So I'm going to have 4 different amounts of water. I'm going to have none. I'm going to have a small amount. I'm going to have a medium amount, and I'm going to have a large amount. Now these can be more specific if you wanted to have volume specifically in here. That could also easily, so if you wanted to put 100 milliliters, 10 milliliters, things like that, you could do it, but I'm just going to stick with these 4 conditions right here. Next up, I'm going to put in my dependent variable, and this is the variable that I'm measuring. So this is what I'm seeing if the amount of water has any effect on what? And I'm looking at plant growth. So I'm going to measure this by seeing how long the plant is. So I'm going to be looking at the length of the plant. And I don't want to forget what my unit is, which I'm going to be measuring as centimeters. Okay, and we can just scooch this over to include all that. So let's say that I did this. I did it for 2 weeks, and then I measured my plants. So let's say there was 0 centimeters, 4 centimeters, 7 centimeters, and 9 centimeters. So this is my data, and this is all that I would need to put into Excel to create my graph. So how you create your graph is you want to select everything that has any sort of information about your graph. So you want your variables, you want your conditions, and you want your results right here. So I've selected everything. And then I'm going to go to the Insert tab. Right here, click on it. And then I go to Chart, and it has this little picture right there to remind you that this is where you want to do for graphs. So clicking on it, and then out will shoot a graph, just like this. Now, this is not really how I want my graph to look like. So we're going to come over here. And this is all the different things that you can change about your graph. So the first step is you need to decide what type of graph you want. We've looked at a bunch of different types. We looked at bar graphs, line graphs, pie charts, and if you click on this, it has all different types. So if you wanted a line, if you wanted to have a pie chart right here, scatter chart, and they have a whole bunch of other really cool things. They have different types of maps. They have a flow chart that you can use. So if you guys want to explore this, I would highly recommend you check out all these other cool graphs. But for this example, I'm going to stick with a bar graph. Now, right here is the x-axis, and so I want amount of water, so I'm going to keep that. And then the series is going to be the y, or your dependent variable, and I like length of plant centimeters. And it's very cool because this will automatically select that, but let's say, oh, actually, what if I just put in 0, 4, 7, 9, and then the none, small, medium, and large? That's totally okay. You would just put in what titles you wanted here, and you would unclick this, and unclick this. So if you guys see what happens, it puts in amount of water as one of the variables, but that's not what I want. I want that as the title. So just go right back to how it automatically set it up. So if we're done with the setup, we can go over here to customize, click on that, and the first one is chart style. So I don't really want to do a lot with this. I like the white background. I don't need to maximize it. If you guys want to, like, it just makes it closer. I don't really want that. If you want to make a cool effect, you can make the bars 3D. But I'm just going to stick with the normal style. Up next is the chart and axis titles. So I actually am not happy with this title. I want to change it. So I want to say the effect of the IV on the DV. So I want to say the effect of the amount of water which is the IV, on the DV, which in this case is how much the plant is growing. So I would say on plant growth. And after this, I want to center this title. So I'd go down here and click the center button, and that'll center it for me. I don't want to change the font titles, but I'll go ahead and make that bold, and I can change the color if I wanted to anything, but I think I'll just make it a darker black. Alright, and we are all done with the chart title. Next is the series. So this will be talking about what's showing your actual data. So for this one, our dependent variable, what we're measuring is the length of the plant. And since it's plants, I can go ahead and change the color to green. And this is asking if you want the left or right axis. It's very uncommon to see it on the right. So I would just keep that as left. And all of these right here, these are for more sophisticated statistics and graphing, so we don't have to worry about that. And we are done with that tab. Next up is the legend. So we don't have any legend, so we don't have to worry about any of this, but if you have a legend with your graph and you have different amounts that you need a legend for, you can change the style here. After this is our horizontal axis. also known as our x-axis. So this will be the amount of water right here. And this is specifically talking about these values. I don't want to change the font or the font size. I don't really want to make it bold or italicized, but I can go ahead and change it to that dark black we were using for the title. We're all done there. Your vertical axis is going to look very similar, and I'll just go ahead and change the color here. And these values are just referring to how low and how high you want the numbers to be over here. And I am happy with 0 and 10, but if you want to change that, either one, this is where you would put them. Scale factors, this is just to what point. I would just stick with default unless there's some reason to change it. And we are all done with that. And the last one here is grid lines. So grid lines are the lines right here that are connected to your number values. So this is showing if anything's hitting this line right here, that means it's 8 centimeters. So for example, looking all the way over here at our large amount of water, we can see that our plant growth was more than 8, but less than 10 centimeters. And if you want to put lines in between the major grid lines, which are right here, you can go here to the minor grid line, and this is how many values you want it counted by. So for example, let's hit 1, so it counts by 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. So specifically, if you want to go back to the large, you can say, oh, okay, this is right on this line of 9. So it just gives you a little bit more detail if you would like that for your graph. And again, there's colors. You can make it bright pink if you guys want. But if you guys want to keep it more professional, I would stick to a gray or black. Alright, and then after this, you have to pick what you want to do with this graph. If this is just all you needed, you just wanted to look at it in a graphical way so you could get a better understanding of what your data is showing, you can stop right here. If you need to include this graph somewhere else, like in a Word document, or you want to save it, how you can go about this is you're going to click on your graph and you go to these 3 dots right here. And there's a couple different options, but I would suggest going here to download as, and you can either save it as an image, I'll save it as a PNG, or you can save it as a PDF. So I'm going to save it as an image, so let's click that, and I'll save it to my class folder. Alright, and it'll just pop the title there. I'll just add bar graph, save it, and now you can see that just the graph that we have created will be saved as an image, and you can include this in your Word document or Google Docs or send it in an email. And there's a bunch of different other options, and I'd highly encourage all of you guys to explore more of what Excel and Google Sheets has to offer. Thanks, guys!